Welcome back to Taz and Escape from Mars. So now we're inside the castle.
Okay.
There you go.
Yeah, I like Castlevania.
Oh yeah, I don't think I'm going to probably explain this. In this game, the power-ups also make a lot more sense. In the original game, you picked up a brown thing that I couldn't really determine what it was, and it allowed you to, breathe fire. But here, you just eat a gas recipient. So that at the very least, the power-ups this time actually make sense. So
again, it's also similar a bit to how the power-ups worked in Wario Land 2. But also, Dej, with this configuration, it reminds me a bit more of Ghosts and Goblins.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I don't think I mentioned this as well. I don't remember if it was a thing in the first game at this point, but whatever. The point is, don't abuse the Cyclone. While it is true that the Cyclone is infinite, you can use it as much as you want. If you just mindlessly Cyclone, especially if you're playing for the first time, you might bump into a piece of food, because every time you hit anything, even if it's a bomb or even a piece of food, it will get destroyed by the Cyclone. So basically, it's a good idea. So on your first run, it's not a good idea to just spam the Cyclone mindlessly. You have to make sure you only use it if you feel like you need to, because you might destroy a piece of food that might destroy your life, and it might screw you over in the long run.
Just like Crash Bandicoot spinning. Interesting.
So yeah.
Well, I mean, that's the interesting thing. Crash 4 got rid of the whole spinning the Wumpa fruit away.
Thank God.
I mean, it might have been an elite addition, but the way Crash 4 is constructed, I get the idea that it would have been too detrimental to the player, so they wanted to streamline it.
Especially if you try to go for 100%.
I mean, that's interesting. I mean, Crash 4... with Crash 4, you don't even have to play with lives, so...
Yeah, but still, it's like... I'm just glad that they got rid of that, because you want the fruit in order to get extra lives, but... Because, yes, we know lives are kind of meaningless, but you do need to give us an incentive for the fruit as well as smashing the crates. So I appreciate it. I just wish that the game wasn't a chore to 100%.
Pretty much everyone wants to that.
Well, that's why I'm glad I don't normally 100% games anyway. So
depends on the game.
Yeah, that in itself is a poor excuse.
Like I would say that 100%ing Gen 1 is perfectly fine as long as you use Red Shark to get Mew. That is.
Oh, it's fine. So 100%, as long as you cheat.
Well, Deji. Okay, by all means, Deji. Aside from hacking the game, how am I?
You have to use strength under the truck.
By all means, Mister. Tell me, without hacking, how am I supposed to pick up my copy of Red and Blue and get Mew to complete the Pokédex?
Simple. You just go to Toys R Us and get the code there.
Ah, of course, because they still have those, don't they?
Yes.
Also, do you have a Toys R Us, Pedro, in Portugal?
I do, yes, but those promotions weren't even a thing in my country to begin with anyway. Even back when they were...
okay, fine. Use your time machine. Clearly, everyone has those.
Of course.
Here's the interesting thing, that we kind of had those before the advent of the internet. But
wait, you had time machines?
Yes, of course. Don't you see? This is why the virus arrived first with us. But no, it's the fact that they were present these events in order to give you the code, but they were hosted exclusively in one theme park that was located in only one location in the entire state. If you weren't nowhere near there and you were poor as fuck and you could not go there, tough shit.
Mm-hmm. So that's the lesson for you today, kids, according to Deji. Don't cheat, just use a time machine.
That's the honest way, because crime never pays.
It's interesting, on the subject of second attempts at fourth installments in a series. I wonder how Spyro 4 is going to turn out. I mean, it can't be any worse than the first time they tried that.
Well, Spyro 4 was under bizarre circumstances.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, I mean, Yeah, I mean, you can't get a much more disastrous development for a video game if you try.
Sonic
to
06.
I don't know, Deji. I mean, 06 had something to me, something about 06 to me at least. I'm trying to articulate a problem. Okay, I'll put it this way. I think Spyro 4 is worse than Sonic 06.
Spyro 4, I argued, leaves the fact that one, Spyro 4 is shorter, and two, Spyro 4 doesn't have a story when it's also all the previous entries of a franchise.
Well, that's the thing though. Spyro 4 barely has a story at all.
Exactly. So technically speaking,
You
it
can
is
call it
better.
that.
That's the thing, Babes. By that logic,
I
it
swear-
is better than Sonic 06.
And I swear
Huh.
Spyro 4 is more good. Okay, I'll put it this way. At least in 06, I wasn't stuck on an infinite loading loop that never stopped, so I had to reset the console.
Alright, so now we're in the Sonic style stage of platforming, where we have...
Full
Yeah,
of
yeah. Speaking of
interesting
Sonic.
things. So.
Mhm.
It's something you'd see in Labyrinth Zone. I
It
guess.
reminds me of something else, but I can't put my head on specific what.
Plague Knight stage? Is that what you're thinking
I
of?
guess the Explodatorium, I guess, but I don't know. It reminds me also of something else a bit. Maybe, okay, it could be a bit Mickey Mania, but Mickey Mania doesn't really have a stage where
Nah.
there's a full of poison in it. But I don't know. It still reminds me of something, but I can't put my finger on what it might be.
This is to me the hardest stage in the game actually, because the platforming in this one is quite can be quite tough.
Sorry, go
Like this is definitely quite a bit of a difficulty spike for the game right now actually.
Does Taz have a crouch button?
No.
Oh, weird. You'd think that you would have to use that in order to dodge the acid steam that you were victim of on that conveyor belt before.
Yeah. Alright.
Burger.
Nah, I'm not gonna make. I don't even know Bob's Burgers anyway, so I'm not gonna make a joke.
Well, Dweebs, do you have? I guess you could have done instead of Steam Ham reference.
Nah, I mean, that's an interesting thing. I even made a Steamed Hams video.
So what's the theming?
Where basically the one I did was when Skinner basically cooks the wrong thing.
Okay, I'm surprised you did. Sorry, go
He
on.
tries to make he makes steamed hams, but you're supposed to make steamed clams.
I mean, I'm surprised that you didn't make it a crossover with a Hitler parody.
Nah, I don't know how to do in videos as intricate as that.
Neither do I. Don't feel bad. Give me time. I will. Do you know how to use a green screen?
Nah, I don't use green screen. I mean, there are some green screen pit videos of Downfall parodies, but I've never known how to work them properly yet.
You need a proper editing system, you know.
I mean,
so...
I've got one to share.
Alright. So yeah, the debug mode is very helpful for me, in particular in this stage, because yeah, this stage is can be.
No, not back.
No, this is the kind of old school '90s platforming type of stage where it really is one of those where get good or die. It literally is one of those cases.
Getting slightly hit makes your character zooms in to the other side of the stratosphere, conveniently attracted to the nearby bottomless pit. Like the game is
technically,
designed.
it's not a bottomless pit too. If you fall into the acid, you just get hurt as well. So technically, it's not a bottomless pit. If you have health, you'll survive. So
I forgot which specific. I remember one specific game done in recent times that doesn't have knockback, but if you want to play like on hard mode or activate a specific type of mode, that also includes the knockback. I think it was Bloodstained Circle of the Moon. I think.
maybe I haven't
Was that
played.
an indie game?
I haven't gotten around to playing it.
It's done by Inti Creates, Dej, and basically is taking a spin-off for Bloodstained Ritual of the Night. Pretty good, actually.
Oh,
Classic
Bloodstained 2. Okay.
Well, not necessarily. Not even the first one, Dej. Yeah.
I remember the first one had some knockback.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Almost done.
Question, Pedro. Have you ever beaten this when you were younger?
Yes. It
You
once.
mentioned that when he grew up with this, so.
You could grow up with something and still not beat it.
Oh yeah, I did manage to beat it once. Yeah, it was a long time ago, but I do remember managing to beating it once. Yes.
Ish.
Although
Was it?
well, remember, Deji, even back then I had access to these cheat codes because back then, even though there was no internet, there were magazines and book codes that you could purchase that will have this stuff for you. So even back then, I did have access to these things. So
I wish you had me on your Hulk 2003 playthrough, because that's how I beat the game when I was in Nigeria. Because like the thing is, in Nigeria, we didn't have a memory card for PS2 for some reason, and the government sucks, so they keep turning off the electricity whenever. So I use a cheat code to not get hit because life's too short.
not just that, there's also a cheat that unlocks all the levels in the game. So yes, there is.
Shit.
If only you knew.
10 years, give myself the memory card, and also tell him.
Everyone passes through that for something, that don't worry.
Well, don't worry.
I mean, that game's not good anyway, so.
It's not. It's not. I do appreciate the fact that they managed to incorporate more comic book related aspects compared to the film it's based on. But no, yeah, it's a very boring, mediocre game in general. And Taylor in particular is not very fond of how they use the Hulk villains.
More like it's the textbook example of the thing that Pedro mentions, that a lot of video game based on comic book just shoehorn in like characters and pretend, oh yeah, we totally knew each other from this. Look, I'm normally not really too harmed by this, but time has told that there are people who actually are. So, and that doesn't help that the Incredible Hulk 2018 instead doesn't help either on that. Some villains of that, like the Bi Beast, are actually introduced. The stuff like the UFOs are barely actually introduced and quickly forgotten immediately. Like, it's not even funny.
I heard Hulk Ultimate Destruction is really good now.
Oh, it is.
Yeah, it is. That's the the interesting thing to it is that it was made by the same people that made the 2003 game. So
Radical Entertainment.
Okay. I think after the 2003 game, Radical learned that they needed to improve, so they did with Ultimate Destruction.
and to their credit, even the 2003 game, for as badly as executed as it is in terms of level design and overall structure and pacing,
I've seen far worse.
it does have a solid enough basic core foundation for how the Hulk could control and attack. So I can so it definitely was at the very least a good step that they expanded upon with that game.
Oh, the 2003 game is by no means terrible per se. It does get your typical idea. It has a plot line down, and the way it works in the Hulk villains is, well, it doesn't feel inane, basically, essentially. Obviously things will get perfected with what?
The fact that these team things,
this particular section is by far, to me, the hardest platforming section in the game. You have to, you're gonna need pixel perfect precision to execute some of these jumps. It's really it's old school platforming, right there.
Wouldn't be a Genesis, SNES, or NES game without that, now would it?
Oh man, try playing Mega Man and bass.
That's a
I have.
for extra crunchiness, try the GBA version.
In this case, Joe, but this game was actually exclusive. Much like the first game, this one is exclusive to the Mega Drive.
That's one thing.
Hold on, let me explain this. All right, so here's the green-headed scientist in Gossamer. So what do we have to do? Basically, the first thing you need to do is you need to wait until Gossamer stops and hit him in the head with your cyclone. Eventually, that will make him drop into one of those chairs. What do you do when you get to the chair? Well, let's see.
Oh no, it's runaway brain.
There you go. Now we're controlling Gossamer, and now we can jump and punch the Doctor's ray gun.
Yes, we can.
There you go. There you go. That's a pretty creative boss fight. So really cool.
I know in the Looney Tunes show from 2011, Gossamer is voiced by the guy who plays Darwin from An Amazing World of Gumball, the first one.
Yeah, that's one thing I never that's one thing I never understood since you mentioned Mega Man and Beast. By the time that game came out, when it did, the PlayStation was out. So why is it on the Super Nintendo?
I don't know. Well,
to answer your question, it's because they realized it's because the Super Nintendo was still selling. And
Think about it like this:
people didn't adapt to the PS1, so there's like, okay, let's make a new game just to capitalize on that market.
Think about
Keep in
it like
mind,
this
isn't the first time they've done it because they made Mega Man and 5 and 6, no 4, 5, and 6 at post.
Still on the NES.
Think about it
when
like
the
this.
Super Nintendo
That's
came out.
true.
Think about it like this, Dwibs. It's essentially why the PS2 and Xbox.
360.
The first Xbox.
Yeah. It's sort of like why the PS2 and the first Xbox still stuck around even when the PS3 and Xbox 360 came to town. Albeit more so with the PS3 and PS2 thing. But you get it here and there. It's like, well, it was a mixture of the previous platform still being insanely popular, and not many people really wanting to make that jump back then.
Honestly, Jova, it's a thing that happens through every console gap generation. For one reason or another, there's always a bunch of games that will still probably be released on the previous generation for convenience sake.
Oh, obviously, but it's most notable when some platforms pretty much endure a good chunk into their successor's lifestyle here.
Case in point, like we mentioned in one of the previous parts, these actually got the Tech Toy treatment and got a Master System version exclusive for Brazilian audiences.
So the final zone of the game is Marvin's house. I don't know how we went all the way from Mars into Earth, and now we're in Marvin's house. I don't know how the hell that happened.
This is like that Arkanoid PS1 game where you pass through I forgot which specific setting, like a prison, then to ancient Egypt, and then a farm out of nowhere, then to a medieval castle, and then in space.
The developers really wanted a final showdown against Marvin, so there you go.
I mean, the title is Escape from Mars, might as well have Marvin as the final boss.
I guess maybe this means that Marvin's house is on Earth, ironically enough.
Well, this still looks space to me, Joe.
As for Gossamer, in the new shorts, he's voiced by Tata Shore. By Fred Tata Shore. Yeah. Alright.
Ow. I can imagine that this being essentially the final level, it's the more bullshit one.
No, well, actually not. Like I said, I actually still prefer any of these stages over the one we just did. The platform. There's actually. It's more so about the enemies that are the main threat, not so much platforming itself. So it's a bit more doable. Like, basically, just try your best to dodge and, the usual thing. The thing you have to be careful with is K9, because K9 can kill you in one hit for whatever reason. So what do you do?
It's so damn special.
Yep. And now the game is having a bit of slowdown because there's a lot of shit on the screen. But, alright.
Yeah, that's another thing that I noticed. The frame rate tends to be slightly consistent from time to time.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh.
Well, remember, Teo, this was cutting edge for the time. So
also that Genesis twang, that's the thing of beauty.
Love it. I'm a big fan of the I'm a big fan of the Yamaha sound chip.
Again, I agree with Call Me Johnny that Echo the Dolphins soundtrack is nightmare inducing, but it's still pretty cool. overall.
no.
So
Well,
what
no.
you're saying is we should play Echo the Dolphin with that nightmare-inducing sound.
Well, that was kind of a given, an eventuality more than anything.
I'm personally fine with that, but there we go. Haha. That. So there you go. Yeah, it's basically an Indiana Jones style of trap, basically.
Figures.
All right.
Martians. Why did we have to be Martians?
Mm-hmm. These Martians.
I can
These Martians are crazy.
Huh.
All right. So basically, Theo, the primary gimmick with these levels is that, well, this first one specifically, is that this one is more like a maze. This one works more like a maze rather than actually a platforming challenge. So basically,
Alright.
just find your way around. Eventually, you'll get there.
Don't lose your way.
Don't lose your way.
And
Yeah, I
I-
knew that.
And you're trapped.
No, that's okay.
Whoa.
And now seizure.
Ah,
There you go.
Jesus.
Lovely.
That was the cloning machine,
my God.
and I just made a clone of myself.
Oh no.
Now you'll never be a virgin.
Damn it, Dej, I wanted to say that joke.
Not just that, but this also gets used for platforming, as you're about to see in a moment.
See, Mario 3D World didn't learn anything. The double cherry has always been a copy of this.
Basically, much like the clones in Super Mario 3D World, they'll do the same thing you do. So if you jump, it will jump, and there you go. See.
Cool.
So basically,
Now the clone can't join you.
this game had quite a lot of interesting gimmicks that we see nowadays as common used in platformers. Actually,
But if you make a clone and the first Taz is the one that dies, is the one that remains really the real Taz?
Yes.
clearly we need a Tasmania Clone Saga book to explain all of this crap.
Not just that.
Yeah, that'll last for years.
Not just that. It's someone back when Mario 3D World came out on the Wii U made essentially a Metal Gear comparison by having Mario getting the first the double cherry and then having a caption of 30 years later, and then it cuts to the ending portion of MGS4.
All right, so as you can see, the platforming in this stage is very light, so it's nothing compared to the castle that we just went through. So you'll be fine enough.
Lovely.
Fuck, that was my bad. All right, let's. God. Unfortunately, those enemies cannot be killed, so I kind of have to put up with them. All right. Let's see if we can do this properly this time. There we go. The interesting thing is that, unlike the first game, this one doesn't even have a difficulty selection. This one just has its own.
It's just one going on.
Mm-hmm. And I get the feeling that they went with a hard mode as the default one.
considering that you don't seem to take too much damage with each hit, it seems balanced enough. Especially because if you know what you're doing, again, getting the debug mode essentially allows you to live forever if you know what you're doing.
You know, guys, of all the cloning effects you could think of, you came up with inducing seizure on your audience.
I mean, of course, that's the Sonic Labyrinth way.
Is it?
Well, not necessarily cloning, but having a power-up that gives you a seizure. Why not?
I guess. There you go. Basically, you have to try your best to also get the clone to help.
Is there a video game that does this? Like any modern video game that does something like this?
What do you mean?
Like you have two characters that you need to control in order for platforming sections.
Brothers of
Plenty, actually.
Brothers of Tale of Two Sons, the game that
okay.
Joseph Ferris
If
made
you
before he
want
made
to-
a way out.
If you want an example that as your character like cloning themselves and having to transport each of them in a place, there was like a Xbox 360 exclusive and gone ported to PC, which is called something like The Misadventures of P.W.J. Winterbottom or something. It's similar to a traditional 2D platform, but it's a bit weird. I'll research between parts.
All right, see you for the final part, everybody.
Yeah.
We're done.